Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much to Prime and Ali and the team for arranging this. This is a seventh report, and I happen to be part of the first report when Ali and Prime launched it in 2013. And the venue where we launched the first report was where all the chambers presidents from all the country were together. And we made it a point that we would share the information from the first report and thereafter all the reports that have come through. Initially, I think there was a more skepticism, or you can say people were more critical and anxious about it because they thought that the government is freshly come in, so they need time. But I think with this seventh report, what is really coming out clearly is a trend where it's very clear that the manifesto was maybe not really totally understood, or whoever really put it down really didn't, the leadership or the senior leadership really didn't, resort back to it. And that's why I think there's a lot of areas where they're failing. Having said that, I think what is important in terms of the economic element, because I'm in touch with the business community on a daily basis. And even today, just to make sure, after reading the report, I wanted to again touch base with the business leaders, even, people who are in the markets. And I think the element was very much congruent with this report, where people are not really satisfied in terms of, at the microeconomic level. So on one side, we definitely see that at the macroeconomic level, the reports are better. Our emerging markets they're showing that we are being now identified as in the emerging market. You can say our stock market is doing well. So all those things are good, but those are the macroeconomic indicators. And at the microeconomic level, the question that we need to ask is, which is also, I think, being indicated from the report, is that has the life of a businessman improved? And the fact of the matter is it hasn't. If today you want to set up a business or you want to pay your taxes, your life is as miserable as it was in the beginning of this government. So the time spent on paying your taxes, compliance, or the ease of doing business, in fact, we have actually been ranked, and it has gone down two notches down. We are at, I think, 138th number out of all the countries that are gauged. Another strong point that comes out, which you can also go through the report, and I think we would all agree, is also showing an orientation, and that is that the government has an affinity towards the infrastructure development, and because that makes sense politically, and that's why they're spending more resources towards that, and you would see that they have done better on all accounts in terms of indicators. Foreign direct investment, which was mentioned by Ali, it has gone down. Also, the expats, still they're remitting funds, but that has not been reflected in terms of investment. Access to capital, as was mentioned, the private sector, I agree. Again, there are the banks still. This government has borrowed more, despite the fact this was mentioned in the manifesto that they would try to reduce the debt burden, but we saw that the debt has increased tremendously. Enforcement of contract, I don't think this was engaged in it, but these are, what I'm trying to say is that if you look at these indicators and you go through them, and then you see, if you unpackage it, you would understand that business is as usual. So nothing has changed. And what is expected is, we can definitely say that we should give benefit of the doubt that yes, this is a first of its type in terms of this exercise, or even though it's a seventh report, it's the first time that it's being done, and neither the government, neither the public, we're not used to, neither the voter is used to look at things in an objective fashion. But I think this would definitely make a road and a historical data, and in the next election and thereafter, I think this would become a goldmine to be referred to and to act as a guiding light for the other, you can say, competitors or the new governments that would come in. Burden of tax, although I think in this budget as well, it was mentioned that the tax collection is improved. But if you even look in this report, it's also mentioned that over the last 3 years, the volume of revenue grew at about 60% over this 3 years. And whereas in comparison, the GDP increased by 27%, whereas at the same period, the tax recorded a growth of 120%. And the indirect taxation burden has been increasing. The direct taxation has not increased. And what is happening is, instead of increasing, making the lives better for those who are already within the tax net, the lives of those that are already paying their taxes are being made miserable. They are suffering, and in terms of the tax collection, they are being coerced in terms of making their lives difficult, and they're being coerced to be enforced, and enforcement is going upon them. So the tax net, although the government did try, and I think on those points there are some improvements, but still, when it comes to the implementation by the tax authorities, by the FBR, it is again, the burden is all being passed on to those that are already in the tax net. We also saw that our exports have not increased, and one of the indicators where we were supposed to, I guess, improve. And why it has not increased, despite the fact that energy being provided to the manufacturing sector or the large-scale manufacturing has definitely improved, whereas at the domestic level it has not really gone away. We're still, I guess, everyone is suffering from the load shedding, and we're all waiting for the energy to really come into the grid. But there are other factors, and just wanted to mention those that are important in terms of the port charges, for example, in Karachi. And now the whole country is focusing on CPAC and Gwadar. Right now, the port charges in Karachi are 9 times higher than the port charges in Dubai or Singapore. So, in future, in the next couple of years, if we are to open up Gwadar, and if we're going to treat Gwadar in the same way, in this way, I don't think it's going to really help anyone who is going to be trading. Shipping containers, the dwelling times is 3 times longer than what it takes time in East Asia. So these are the sorts of difficulties that are still there at the microeconomic level, where our exports are not going to increase. We're not being able to extend those benefits that we are going to really get from the availability of the energy. As you saw, that the energy sector is doing better than the economic revival in terms of the indicators. Although the government this time in the budget mentioned that the poverty has decreased right now, and I again checked today all the data that is out there, 12.4%, and we are still below the poverty line. 50.7% are employed within our population, anyone above 15 years of age. Still 1,000 babies, 66 infant deaths per 1,000. Exports have been down by 11% as recent as beginning of this year. So all these things are just basically showing us that the government really needs to focus, and actually they've lost the time where they should have taken the difficult decisions, and now the political you can say competition would force them not to take the difficult decisions in terms of privatization or other segments. So there's a lot of missed opportunity, and I hope that still they would try to salvage whatever they can, and if there is no challenger, if there is again a chance for the same government to come back, maybe they can improve. So again, congratulations to the Prime team, because you are setting up history, and I think you are really setting the direction for the future politics of the country. Thank you.